Flygirl, Chapter 7. It's an ordinary Wednesday. Jolene and I work our fingers to the quick, rubbing beeswax into the wood floors at the Wilson place. If ever there was a reason to fly, I tell Jolene, it would be to save me from having to wax floors. Shoot, fly all you want, she replies. I'd rather be rich. By the time we leave for the day, we are worn down to the bone, but the floors shine like honey in the late afternoon light. Otis Wilson has shipped off for basic training. He looked like a sad puppy in his best travel suit, ready to face the Nazis head on. Mrs. Wilson was so proud, but his daddy knew better. Otis Wilson is not cut out for war. Jolene and I baked him some thumbprint cookies with his favorite jam, just to keep him company on the bus. Ida Mae, ain't that the mailman? Jolene asks as we turn the last corner toward home. Jolene lives less than a mile from my place, and we usually walk a ways together. But today we were step off the bus. The mailman is waving at me. We break into a run. Here you go, Miss Ida Mae. I knew you was looking for something in the mail, but I didn't know what. Says United States Armed Forces right on the envelope, so I figured it was something important. Are you going to open it or what? The letter feels like a weight in my hand. Of course, I say, but my fingers don't comply. Give it here. Jolene takes the envelope from me and rips it open with one dark brown finger. She reads the letter, and I try reading her face, but her brown eyes and her smooth forehead tell me nothing. Jolene, I finally manage to say. She raises an eyebrow and looks at me. Texas? You're really going to go to Texas? She stuffs the letter back in its envelope. Shoot, girl, you're crazy. She hands the letter back to me. Go on, tell your mama. I'll watch the fireworks from the front porch. She saunters away, leaving me standing in my cleaning uniform in the dust. I drop my bags and tear into the envelope, devouring the letter as it folds in my hand. Pleased to offer, report to training. My heart starts beating faster and faster, like the train they will carry me off to Sweetwater, Texas. Jolene, I holler at her, I'm going to be a wasp. She's grinning at me from a few yards down the road. I take a picture of her with my mind. That's how I'll see her, I tell myself, wherever I get to missing her. But I'm on my way to flying. Mama's walking the fields with Grandy, and I reach the house. My acceptance letter is tucked into my pocket. I think about hiding it, but there is no point. Grandy sees me coming and waves. He and Mama cut across the strawberry plants and meet me in the driveway. Hey, baby girl, back from work late, huh? We did a lot of extra work. The Wilsons are having folks over for dinner. I explain. I hold up the envelope. This just came. The wasp accepted me. Mama doesn't say anything. She just stares at me. Grandy takes off his hat and wipes the sweat from his forehead. We've had such a long day, he says, and shakes his head. Come on, we'll talk about it over dinner. They head into the house. I stand outside just a moment longer, the evening wind rising around my ankles, tossing the hem of my dress. There is a ham casserole for dinner, the last of the meat from Sunday's big meal, with noodles and breadcrumbs and mayonnaise in the sauce. Usually everyone likes ham casserole. It's hot and tasty and sticks to your ribs. Tonight, I push it around my plate, and I'm not alone. Mama stares at her plate. Abel pokes at his food. He's always hungry as a wolf or finicky as a cat. Tonight's got him jumpy. Only Grandy seems to have an appetite. He chases forkfuls of meat and noodles around with a slice of bread. Grandy has been a farmer his whole life. He won't waste a meal, no matter what else is going on. Now, he says, when he's satisfied, he sits back and takes a sip of black coffee. How do you think this is going to work, Ida Mae? I blink. Well, I'm due at the training camp in 2 weeks, and then I either make it or I don't, and I come home again. Are they paying for you to go? Mama asks. They are the first words she said on the subject since the fight in the kitchen over a week ago. I glance down at the table, the letter mesmerized already. No, Mama, they say I've got to pay my own way, but it makes sense, right? I mean, I haven't actually become a wasp yet. Mama sighs and stirs some molasses into her coffee cup. Sugar is too hard to come by to use it every day. But I've got my Chicago money I've been saving. I could pay my own way. Chicago, Mama says with a shake of her head. I should never have let you carry on about that. She looks so tired, it makes my heart ache. Come to that, Grandy says. What about rest of your pay, Ida? We'll all work together in this family. With you gone, that's another bit of money that's not coming in for us, he points out. I swallow and nod. I can set some aside for you and Mama and Abel from my savings. Then there's a stipend during training, $150 a month. I can send some of it to you. And when I get assigned, I'll be making a real paycheck. I can send money then. It suddenly feels possible and real. I can do this. I know I can make it work. Grandy doesn't sound convinced. So you have to buy a train ticket and be gone for who knows how long. He shakes his head and turns to Mama. Well, Stella, she wouldn't be the first colored girl who passed for an opportunity. And flying for the military, that's a big one. Mama's face stays carefully blank. How many of those girls ever come back? She asks Grandy quietly. Grandy nods and rubs a big hand slowly around his cropped white hair. Sure, there's that. But if they keep the men and women anywhere near as separate as they keep the Negroes and whites, ain't no convent gonna be safer, despite what they say about them whacks. Mama stays silent. Grandy shrugs. Besides, what are we gonna do for her here? The girl's got the bug, just like her daddy. It's the Army or Chicago one of these days, and nobody's watching out for her in Chicago. Mama looks at her hands in her lap. When she looks up at Grandy again, I can tell a decision has been made. Grandy shakes his head. I've got to tell you, Ida May, this is one for the record books, he says. I mean a little colored girl flying for old Uncle Sam. Does that mean I can go? Grandy shrugs. Your mom and I have been talking, and you're not a baby anymore. An adult has to make an adult decision. I look at Mama. All the planning in the world won't matter if she says no to me. I can't stand to break her heart. If it'll help Thomas, Mama says at last. I can hear the resignation in her voice and it pains me. But a yes is still a yes. I slump back into my chair, glad to have Grandy's blessing, stunned to have Mama's, no matter how begrudging. I start to ask if they're sure, but it's not worth having them change their minds, so I hold my tongue. Show me that letter, Grandy says. I pull it out of my pocket and place it on the table. Grandy takes it and gives a low whistle. Texas, Texas is hard, baby girl. Hard for the colored man. You've got to be extra careful not to slip up. They won't take kindly to it in Texas. And if anybody asks or even suspects something, tell them you've got Spanish blood on your mother's side. More than a few folks around here claiming Spanish Creole blood. He gives me a look of concern that turns into concentration. I got a few friends out by Sweetwater. It's not much to look at, from what I hear. I can't help but smile. I'll be looking at the clouds. Grandy grins. He pats me on the arm. Abel gives me the thumbs up. Mama gets up and gathers the dishes. I start to help and she waves me away. Just sit down. I've got to get used to doing this by myself, she says. There's nothing I can do but watch as she carries the plates to the kitchen sink and begins washing them one by one. She's humming Amazing Grace as she washes, the same song we sing every Sunday in church, but tonight I could only remember it as the hymn we sang over my father's grave.